Hello, everybody. Let's take a moment or two and go through the answers, the solutions, the results for our lesson from last time, which is lesson 713 about unit rates. Yesterday, when we were looking at this problem together, I talked to you about finding different strategies for finding the unit rates. The big thing that we did was we tried to see what we knew in the table. And we knew that for 5 gallons of gas, car A could go 150 miles. When we divide those, when we take 5 divided by 5, we got 1, which is our unit rate for the gas. We did 150 divided by 5, and we got 30 miles for that unit rate. We did something similar with different numbers for 18 and 20. We're going to be focusing in just a real quick review on how I filled out the remainder of this table. I took my unit rate, which was 30, and I multiplied it by how much gas I had. I could take any amount of gas. I could take an amount that was like 3.5 gallons or 13 gallons or 7 gallons. And as long as I knew how much gas I had and I knew how many miles per gallon my car drove or could travel, I can always figure out the distance, just like you did in science class when you did your labs with Mrs. Amish. All right, so the next one that we looked at was car B, and that was 18 miles per gallon. Zoom in here a little bit. For car B, we knew that 3 gallons of gas, it could go 54 miles. If I do the math, I take a look at my amount of gas that I have in my far left column. I multiply that times my unit rate, and I end up with 90 miles. So that's my distance I can travel with this much gas over here. For 6 gallons of gas, I again take it times 18, and 6 times 18 gives me 108 miles. Next one was 10 gallons of gas, and with 10 gallons of gas, I can travel 180 miles. That was already done for us. And the last one for this column was 12 gallons of gas. I multiply it by 18, and I end up getting 216 gallons, or I'm sorry, 216 miles. That's why I like to label each of these so that I remember exactly what I'm talking about. All right, and then I'm going to cover everything else up except for this first column and this last column as we are talking about the unit rate for car C. We figured out that car C could go 20 miles per gallon together yesterday. If I multiply that by the amount of gas I have, 3 times 20 gives me 60 miles that I can travel. 5 times 20 gives me 100 miles I can travel. If I have 6 gallons of gas, I can multiply that times my miles per gallon, which is 20, and I have 120, and we did that one. That one was done for us. We didn't have to do much work with that. We just used that to figure out a unit rate yesterday. And then if I have 10 gallons of gas, I can go 200 miles. We'll label that one more time. And then if I have 12 gallons of gas in my vehicle, I can go 240 miles. And I got that answer by multiplying the amount of gas I had, 12 gallons, times the unit rate, which is 20 miles per gallon, and I get 240 miles. The next part of this assignment was to figure out which car can travel the farthest on 5 gallons of gas, and that is car A. And we know that car A can go farthest because when I look up here at 5 gallons, it is the largest number. 150 is the biggest number, so that means that car can travel the farthest. And the car that has the best unit rate is also car A, because if we go back up into the table again, we see that we can compare 30, 18, and 20. 30 is the biggest number, so that's the best unit rate. Another thing that we were working on yesterday was cell phone bills, and I'm going to cover up most of what we have on this page so we can focus in on the top part. you'll see that I already have my answer written up here. And I know that part of this was kind of confusing because we typically take the largest number and divide it by the smaller number when I'm doing multiplication in elementary school. But now I'm taking a quantity or a price of something, and I'm dividing it out to how much each of those minutes is going to cost. And if I do $19.95 divided by 100 minutes, I end up getting about 20 cents a minute. Then I would carry out that same strategy and take my $24.95 for Verizon, divide it by my 150 minutes. And that tells me the answer here is, oh my goodness, 0 and 166, repeating 3 decimals, and that's very confusing. So I round that to the nearest hundredth. And the reason I round that to the nearest hundredth here and here is because that's how money's written. We have our dollars, which can go in all sorts of lots and lots and lots of places to the left of the decimal. But when we have our cents to the right of the decimal, we only have 2 places in money. Then when we take a look at the next part of our table, we have singuling. That is $9.95, and I pay for 60 minutes with that amount of money. Do the math, and I end up with 17 cents again. They're not exactly the same price. If you notice, we've got a little bit of a difference here with our decimal places, but when I round it, I end up rounding it to 17 cents for each. And then the last one here at D West, $14.75 divided by 100 minutes, and I end up getting this decimal number, which I round to the nearest hundredth, and I get 15 cents, which is why I have D West being my best price per minute. If you did the division a different way, if you did, for example, 100 and you divided it by the price, what you end up having is a number that is pretty big. You'd have a whole number of 5, and I don't know many people that would pay $5 a minute for their cell phone use. Plus, when we're looking at unit rates, we need to make sure we're looking at the divider, the division problem up here, and it's price per minute. So we want to have the cost divided by the time. And that's what we did. That's what I did on this table. And for our last thing about our homework, we had this table to analyze. And when we analyze this table, I like to take a look, and again, I'm working on unit rates. So I look at where the 1 is in weight here. And as I travel up that line that is identified by the number 1 or labeled by the number 1, every time it crosses one of these data lines, that's telling me what the unit rate is. So for store D, it crosses at $1. For store C, it crosses at $2. Keep going up, and for store B, it crossed at $4. And if I keep moving up, for store A, it crosses at $8. So which store are they $2 a pound? Store C. Which store is the rate cost of strawberries, or what is the rate of cost of strawberries at store B? We looked it up here, and as I go back to my graph and analyze it a little bit more, I have $4 per pound. And then the most expensive strawberries is at store A, and I'm hoping that those are pretty fancy, large, juicy strawberries because that's $8 a pound compared to store D with just $1. And how can I tell that? The data line, and that's what these things are, they're data lines. The data line for store A crosses 1 pound at a much higher cost. So hopefully that helps a little bit with the homework for and the lesson for 713. Hoping that things went all